Our listeners, this is indeed the ideal football day. Crisp, bright, clear. Temperature not expected to exceed 60 at its high point this afternoon. Well, the toss actually was officially performed before the teams came back on the field for the formal ceremony out in the center of the field. And the toss was called correctly by Captain Bob Hyde of Ohio State. Tri-captains for SMU were represented by only Pat Knight. And the Ohio State team, having won the toss, elected to receive the kickoff. The SMU team then elected the choice of goals and will defend the north goal here in Ohio Stadium. And we await the signal from the referee. Incidentally, we'll explain a little bit to you about the officials who must remain anonymous under a Big Ten rule. We're unable to identify them for you. There's the whistle. Gadwalder kicks, and he gets one which is spinning, spiraling to the 10, where it's picked up by Janowicz. He's out to the 15, hits hard down the 18, zips away to his left to the 20, the 25, the 30, cuts across to his left once again on the 35. Hula hips across the 40, down he goes on the 43-yard line. These first around the waist by Ike Robb, with Jerry Clem and Jimmy Horn coming in on the tackle on the Ohio State 43-yard line. A run back of 33 yards by All-American Dick Janowicz. Now the play. The ball is handed over to Cleve, wide to the left, slices the 45, hits across midfield. Down he goes on the 46-yard line in the pony end of the field. Beautiful blocking by the left offensive side with Ray Hamilton and Jim Hedico leading the downfield blocking in favor of the runner, who stroked wide out to the left, caught about 5 yards in fair territory. Ike Robb, Dick Hightower, and Pat Knight coming in to make the tackle on the 46. There's a discussion on the play, but there's no flag down. They're coming out to see whether or not first down yardage was gathered, and the headlinesman bring the chain from the far side. And here comes Ohio State, the Buckeyes. Second down coming, about a foot and a half to go. They're on SMU's 47-yard line. They've worked the ball across midfield after taking the kickoff deep on the 10. The play, the T formation. Cursillo takes, whirls, gives over wide this time to an end around. Hamilton has it. Hits the 45-yard line, clears for a first down with about a yard to spare, and is picked up first by Jimmy Horn, Gene Gillis, and Bill Chrysler coming in on the tackle. The T once again, the line in tight. Standard across the top of the tee. The ball to Cursillo. Fades back as though to pass. Has not yet gotten rid of that ball. Lofts a long one. It's in the air. Incomplete it goes. Bouncing out of the hands of Walter Cleve, the man to whom it was intended. Tipped very slightly by Bennett Musselwhite, who came charging in on the defense also. It's Ohio State on the pony 45. The T again. The ball to Chrysler runs out wide to the left. Here's the cut as he keeps across the left tackle slot and drives down to the 42-yard line for a 3-yard gain. Dick Hightower, a submarine on the play, and Jerry Clem, the sophomore left tackle for SMU, came piling in on Cursillo's shoulders. That same defensive pattern again as Cursillo takes, drops back for a spot pass, and then breaks away to the 40, hits the 39, is raced back to the 40, and is dropped on the 40 by 4 white-jerseyed SMU defenders. Dick he stands on his own 49, a double safety. Musselwhite and Valjo Walker. The kick is off, and it's spiraling over toward Coffin Corner, and out of bounds it goes. And we'll wait for the point of the out to be marked by the officials. It's going to be very, very close, for he was trying to angle the ball out at the red flag where the goal line and sideline converge, and he did get it out on the 6-yard line. And here they go with Musselwhite, stalling work. Henry it is, Rusty Russell, and at fullback, Pat Knight. And out of the play. The ball this time goes too far to Musselwhite. Takes it off, keeps, gets back to the line of scrimmage, and it's snuffed out for no gain. Forrester is now in at left halfback. Rusty Russell at right halfback. Pat Knight is in at full. And it's a double wing formation. As the ball goes deep, he steps back in the end zone. Forrester has it. There's a tight force back behind the goal line. And whether or not he was nailed or whether he got out, we'll wait and see. He finally wrestled that ball just to the fringe of the goal line and fell forward on the 1-yard line. But it's entirely possible that that whistle blew back in the end zone. It did not. He got the ball back out to his own 1-yard line. Almost trapped for a safety by Bob Hyde, the captain of the Ohio State team. The Ponies raced back to their own 1 with third down coming up and 15 yards to go. And here's a penalty against Ohio State for 5 for delay of the game. They checked a sub in. Here's Janowicz coming back to a single safety, retreats to the Pony 40. The snap is to Norton, gets his kick off, banging one to the far sideline. Janowicz goes in pursuit. It rolls out of bounds around the 43-yard stripe. The 43 it is on the far side. 5-3-2-1 is the pattern once again. And the Ohio State team comes to the tee. Cursillo, the man under the ball to Cursillo. Heads wide out to the left. Here's his cut. Nice blocking to the 40, the 35. His hips very low around the knees. Collapsed camp stool fashion by Rusty Russell. The Pony line that time snapping up in the face of Janowicz after his first hold it opened up on the line of scrimmage. It immediately closed up as the linebackers came barging into the play and snarled it all up just in back of the line of scrimmage. The Pony side. The ball to Cursillo again. Hands it off delayed this time to Wagner. Wagner goes at right guard trying to jackknife for that first down yardage. He got down around the 32, and as the referee dives into one snarl the pile, he spots the ball at the 32-yard line, looks over to the far side once again. It was Herschel Forrester, I.D. Russell, and Dick Hightower, and the first and 10 it is. 2 first downs set up by the Buckeyes. First and 10 from the SMU 32-yard line. 9 minutes, 43 seconds of playing time still to go in the initial period. The T formation again. The ball to Cursillo. Drops it over in the arms of Walter Cleve. Wide to the left. There's his cut to the 30, the 29. He was hit head-on by Rusty Russell and Dick Hightower just as he hit the 30-yard stripe and then fell forward another half yard to the 29.5. Hightower also having a hand in the play. Now the play again. Cursillo has over to Janowicz. Janowicz tries the right side, drops back to pass, pops a long one downfield. It's incomplete on the 5. Over the head of its intended receiver, Bob Joslin, who had worked down around the 10. Bill Chrysler, coming up from defensive safety, also tried to get in the play, but Janowicz, looking back to the point at which he finally got rid of that ball, was being rather badly rushed by Bill Rippey and Bill Forrester on the left defensive side of the Pony line. SMU sets up the 5-3-2-1 on the defense once again, a 5-3-3 actually, as the secondaries are in very close. The ball is handed over this time to Cursillo. He keeps and he pops a pass which is completed beautifully to Cleve just inside the 20, the 18, and he falls to the 17-yard line. A shoestring tackle by I.D. Russell caught the receiver just as he caught it on the 18-yard stripe, and then Cleve, handling himself on the fall, fell forward to the 17 to clear for a first and 10 to go. Cursillo faked the ball over that time to Janowicz, ran out wide to the right, and Janowicz, the man to whom the ball had been faked, actually became the protective curtain for Cursillo's pass, while Cleve, gone straight away down the left side, had cut away behind the SMU defensive line, and then made his catch. He made a beautiful falling catch. He grabbed the ball with one hand, managed to control it, pulled it into his stomach, and then fell to the ground in the tackle. Time called by SMU. At the end of the second period, Fordham 7, Dartmouth 6. It's Ohio State on the SMU 17-yard stripe. Here's the play. The ball to Cursillo. Keeps as he heads wide out to the left. Still going wide, and he's still a passing threat. He heads back to his right. Finally gets rid of that ball. It's intercepted on the 5-yard line by SMU. Russell has it. He's out to the 10, comes to the 15, and is banged out of bounds on the 21-yard line. Poked out by Bob Joslin, the man to whom that pass was intended, very deep, and in the near corner around the 5-yard line, and Russell going up to shag that ball like an outfielder going toward the fence, simply stole it away from Joslin, and then Joslin had to set out in hot pursuit of the lad who had just stolen the pig hide from him. Russell, playing a beautiful heads-up defensive brand of play, got that ball on his fingertips, managed to bring it down, and he came down running, churning, pounding on out to the 21, and SMU goes to the attack in its most favorable position since a kick-out, you'll recall, on the 6-yard line. The Ponies go to the attack on their own 21 thanks to Russell's interception. Now the play with Musselwhite, Henry Stallenwerk, Russell, and Knight in the backfield. The ball this time is to Musselwhite. He fumbles as he's hit on the line of scrimmage. There's a pile up for it on the 27. Two officials dive in, and Ohio State takes over on the SMU 27-yard line. And the last man off that pile as the officials rape the moss off the ball is Jim Hedico, the defensive left tackle. So Ohio State returns a compliment offered by the SMU team. Rusty Russell intercepting Cursillo's pass on the 5, returning to the 21, and on the first carry, Musselwhite hit a terrific blast by Mike Tackett and Captain Bob Hyde, the defensive center of the Ohio State team, shaking that ball loose. It dripped forward about 5 yards untouched before the red-jerseyed, the scarlet-jerseyed Ohio boys and the white-shirted Ponies began to congeal. Ohio State the last off the pile, so they have it on the SMU 27, 1st and 10. Cursillo goes back in once again to guide the attack. Wells gives over this time to Wagner. Wagner tries to punch his way into left guard, fights down around the 25, may have shaded just inside. He did to the 24-yard line. 7 minutes, 26 seconds still to play in the first quarter of play. Here's the tee once again. Cursillo under, 5-3-2-1 the defense. The ball is given over this time to Janowicz, and he's in trouble as he runs into one of his own blockers. As a matter of fact, it was Herschel Forrester who ran that blocker square back into Janowicz's face and bounced him for a loss to the 25.5-yard line. Lost 1.5 yards. At the tee again, 5-3-2-1 the defense. The ball is to Cursillo, runs landward to the right, cuts inside right in, gets down to the 21-yard line, and there his feet are wiped from beneath him by Bill Forrester and Bill Rippey, who both were floating with the play. First down, 2.5 yards to go. What is the fourth down strategy as Cursillo brings the Ohio State team up and out of its huddle and bows under. The man under spot, Whirls, gives over this time to Wagner. Wagner tries power for a first. There's a fumble as he hits the line of scrimmage, and SMU takes over. The play actually failed to clear for first down yardage, but it was an SMU recovery, and Bill Chrysler is the last man off that pile along with Pat Knight. Knight and Chrysler getting off just about the same time. So the ball goes over to SMU once again as they have staved off Ohio State. Rusty Russell and Bill Forrester now plays in at full. And it's a double wing setup. The snap is to Rusty Russell, and he quick kicks. He bangs a beauty to the 30. The 25 still rolling 10 yards ahead of the nearest lad. Rolls to a stop on the 22. It's surrounded by 3 SMU boys and is whistled in by the field judge on Ohio State's 22-yard line. A quick kick off Rusty Russell's toe, beautifully handled and then hawked by Jimmy Horn, Harry Dean, and Bill Forrester came down to surround the ball, which was leading the nearest Ohio State possible pick-uppers by some 15 to 10 yards, and as they all began to close in, Ohio State pulled away from the play, and the ball is whistled in on Ohio State's 22. That was a 56-yarder off Rusty Russell Jr.'s toe, a quick kicker it was, which achieved its purpose in ramming Ohio State deep back into its own end of the field. Ohio State from its own 22 with Cursillo, Janowicz, Cleve, and Wagner in the backfield, and this time they send a flanker outside wide to the left end. Cursillo, a basket pass, shoots Janowicz. Still back at the line of scrimmage. As he tries to regain it, he's hit on the line of scrimmage and lost a yard, as a matter of fact, as he tried to retreat from Herschel Forrester, then from I.D. Russell and Buford Parkey. But it was Russell who went through that time, seized Janowicz by the knees, and refused to be budged as those two lads collided with a seismic type of contact there that finds the ball just about where it started in Janowicz's effort to sweep to the left side on a basket pitch out from Tony Cursillo. Cleve and Wagner in the backfield, an 8-man defensive line. The handoff to Janowicz. A fast break across right guard to the 25, out to the 30, overhaul from the side and ridden to the ground all the way out on the 37-yard line. Beautiful blocking on a fast opening play. Steve Ruzick and Joe Campanella doing the dirty work right in the line, and then Janowicz immediately crossed the line of scrimmage, cut sharply to his left, began to rummage around in SMU secondary, and Jerry Norton whipped up from the safety position to slice Janowicz into the arms of Jim Thompson and of Henry Stollenwerk. Flanker to the right for Ohio State. The ball goes over quick to Wagner. Wagner tries a quick plotter at the right guard slot, but it's foiled by SMU, which smothers it on the 30, we'll see where the ball is spotted, 38 to 39-yard line. So the play worked for about 3, a little better than 3 yards with second down. Flanker out to the right side. Janowicz it is who's loose to the right. The ball to Cursillo. He's drop after picking it off, dropping back for a pass. Cuts his right arm, blows a long one downfield, still floating in the air. It's almost intercepted and goes incomplete. A great try for a catch by Ray Hamilton and tremendous defensive play shoulder to shoulder by Dave Powell. And that other lad would be Jimmy Horn playing deep in the defense. Standard T for Ohio State this time. The ball to Cursillo, and again he's back for a pass, but he doesn't. He cuts a beautiful hold to the 40, the 45, across midfield, and is trapped finally on the SMU 47-yard line. That piece of strategy worked like a charm, and apparently it gladdens the heart of such key coaches as Mr. Woody Hayes. For there was Cursillo back as though to pass, while all of his blockers began to move first to the right and the left. They simply parted the right and left defensive sides of the SMU line and left wagon tracks for Mr. Cursillo to race right down the middle, which he did. And then he began to be challenged by the secondary. He was dropped finally by Bill Chrysler and Jerry Norton on the SMU 47. 1st and 10 to go, and that is 5 first downs racked up by the Buckeyes. Now here's the standard T for the Buckeyes. The ball to Cursillo, gets to Janowicz. Janowicz wide to the right, cocks his arm to pass, does toss one. It's intercepted by Jimmy Horn on the 25. He's out to the 30, the 35, the 40. Cuts across the 45-yard line and is dropped on the 46-yard line in SMU's end of the field. That ball was stolen from its intended receiver, Bob Joslin, and just as the defender came in to snipe the ball, check me on that number. Was that Jimmy Horn who intercepted that pass? We'll check that number once again, for the number was obscured just as he curved away from us on the interception. He had dropped back very deep. Dave Powell it was, not Jimmy Horn. Powell, who was playing that defensive right halfback position, and he swiped the ball squarely in front of Joslin and then returned it neatly out to the 46-yard line. Pony into the field, 1st and 10. So here comes SMU to the attack once again with Musselwhite, Stollenwerk, Pat Knight at fullback, and Fred Benners is now checked in at quarterback, and Benners has that snap, and he's dancing, digging back, and he pops one off into the left flat. It's complete to Rippey, who takes it on the across midfield to the 48-yard line and is dropped immediately. Mark Speakley going in to make the tackle along with Fred Bruni, who had gone over to cover that particular zone. Buckeye 49-yard line, and it's second down coming up, a little less than 5, about 4.5 to go for the first down, and the Ponies go to the spread on the line. Benners is back all by himself, some 8 yards back of the line of scrimmage, takes the snap, and again he dances coolly back. There's the jump, there's the pass. It's complete to Rusty Russell on the Ohio State 45. He cuts to the 40, hits on the 38 rather, shakes free and fights for another yard to the 37-yard line. Not being halted by the first contact in the arms of Fred Bruni, Rusty Russell kept on driving, and then Janowicz finally brought him in on the 37-yard stripe. Then a flanker wide outside, a double wing it is. Benners deep, takes the snap, drops back to midfield, hasn't yet spotted that receiver, finally leaps and passes. It's complete to the 25 to Ben White, and White goes down immediately, fumbled, and there's a pile-up for it on the Buckeye 28-yard line. White took that ball on the 25. He tried to outstep the first lad to challenge him, and the last man off the pile is an Ohio State boy. A fumble and a hard tackle at the 25 causes the ball to roll free, and it's Bob Hyde who recovers for Ohio State as the Buckeyes move to the attack once again. Benners has been in for 3 plays and completed 3 passes. Cleve and Wagner in the backfield now, and it's a flanker as Janowicz goes about 5 yards outside right end. The snap to Cursillo, heads to the weak side, shovels the ball over to Cleve, takes it on the 30, he's out to the 35, hit on the 36, and falls forward to the 37-yard line. Hightower seizing him around the ankles, and Hooks taking him around the shoulders to apply the old 1-2 and drop the forward progress of Cleve on the Ohio State 37. Second down coming up, about a yard and a half, nearer 2 to go for a first down. Cleve on a pitch out wide to the left after Janowicz, who is playing a flanker on the right, had cut away as though to be in pass position, pass receipt position, and decoying a couple of secondaries to that zone. But the linebackers finally collected on Cleve and drew him in. Second and about 2 to go. The standard tee, Cursillo takes, drops back for a pass, still curving back for that pass, and now he tucks the ball to run with it. He stepped back at the line of scrimmage, but comes free somehow, and out to the 39-yard line, where Jerry Clem seizes him for keeps on the Ohio State 39. First and 10 on the 39, Ohio State in possession, and its own end of the field. 10 seconds still to go in this first quarter of play. The ball to Cursillo, hands to Janowicz, through right tackle, tries a cutout and is dropped on the 40-yard line for a pickup of about a yard. Herschel Forrester was the lad who fathomed that play, and his fellow diagnostician was Dick Hightower, and as they put the 1-2 clamp on the play, it was dropped on the 40, well, it's being moved out to the 42, so he was thrown back apparently after his forward point happened to be the 42-yard line. He was tossed back around the 40, and the play is dropped there. And with that play, the first quarter ends, no score. Now here's Eddie Barker. He taps on the sidelines, but somehow darts back in across the 45, gets to the 47, and Dave Powell is laying for him there as he comes back in. It is ruled that he did step out. His knee seemed to whip up a little lime dust just as he came to the near sideline, and though he did cut back in to progress for another 4 or 5 yards, his step out was on the 43, and the play was spiked at that point. That's about 3 yards in front of the line of scrimmage. Cleve on a basket pass that time, starting back on the field of play. Here's an 8-3 on the defense by the Ponies. The ball to Cursillo. Takes first, then gives to Janowicz. And Janowicz is met on the line of scrimmage and gets only a yard as he's hit very hard by Rippy Hightower, I.D. Russell, and Harry Dean, just about the 43.5-yard line. That ball was faked first to Wagner, and he went right straight on down the middle, bent over as though he might have the ball in his breadbasket. And as he ambled into the secondary, the SMU defenders came moving over to arrest Janowicz on the line, and Janowicz had enough drive to fall forward for a half-yard pickup. So it's the 4th down try, and about 6 yards to go for a first down. Twin safety of Bill Chrysler and Jerry Norton set up. The snap is to Janowicz. He fumbles, but picks it up and gets it off in a spiral. It's coming over toward Norton, who takes it just about a yard in fair territory in the 11. Fades back to the 10, fades back to the 5, runs back to the 3, and now back downfield the 5, the 10, the 15. He's hit, cuts away, loses his footing on the 18, and falls out of bounds. Jerry Norton ran that ball from his twin safety position. First and 10 to go. Check in Bennett Musselwhite, Henry Stollenwerk, Rusty Russell, and Bill Forrester in the backfield, and set up a single wing with a flanker outside to the left for the Ponies as the ball is back to Benners. It is who's in there. Benners is back on the 5. He doesn't pass. He runs to the 10, the 15, the 20, and is hooked out of bounds on the 20, a 2-yard pickup by Sherwin Gandy, playing at defensive left end. There are 8 yards to go. That pass being complete back of the line of scrimmage. Flanker outside wing to the left again. Benners has the snap. He's still jigging back, and here's a long pass off to the left intended to Russell. Incomplete it is. Now the flag's down. Interference is being claimed against the SMU intended receiver. And the pass is being ruled complete. Interference against the Ohio State team allows that play to stand up. Point, and it's 1st and 10 to go. Dead in midfield. SMU now working with Bennett Musselwhite. He's replaced, no, Bennett is still in there. Bennett is in at the fullback slot. Musselwhite has gone over to a right halfback. Stollenwerk and Rusty Russell Jr. round out the backfield. And the snap is to the deep man Bennett. Digs back to the 37, pulls the trigger on a long one, which is completed beautifully on the 33-yard line where it's rushed out of bounds. And as quickly as that lad gets up off his back, we'll clear his number and give you the lad who made a beautiful catch for SMU deep down in Ohio State territory. And it's Rusty Russell. And as he fell with that ball, he fumbled, and a recovery goes here to Ohio State. That play being all worked out as it was completely concealed from the near side stand. It was beautifully caught, but Russell was falling as he caught. He'd been hit very hard by the defensive left halfback Janowicz, and Hyde recovers. So give the ball to Ohio State on its own 33, 1st and 10. Cursillo takes a basket pass to Cleve. Cleve to the near side. Has his cut across the 35. In trouble on the 37, and down he goes on the 38-yard line. Wrestled to the ground by Hightower, by Norton and Herschel Forrester on the Ohio State 38-yard line is where the play was climaxed. To exploit that break in its favor. Second and about 4.5 to go. T formation again. Cursillo has. Fakes off to Wagner, but keeps, runs wide out to the left, pulls the trigger on one, which is incomplete. It was intended to Janowicz, but Cursillo was being given a very bad time by Harry Dean, who was in behind him, and just as Dean was about to apply the clamps and pin the passer's arms to his side, Cursillo actually threw the ball underhanded. He allowed it to swing under Dean's arm and threw the ball underhanded with not too much good direction. Norton came in to have a crack at an interception, but the ball missed him by about 2 yards, intended to Janowicz. T attack for the Buckeye team. Bill Wilkes, a lad who is playing his first year of college football, by the way. He came to Ohio State as a basketball star and has outside left end of the 40. Hits the 41, 2, 3, 4, 5-yard line. He is in trouble and finally dropped as he retreats to the 43. And it was Dave Powell who went over that time to challenge Janowicz. Just as he got around the 40-yard line, Janowicz kept trying to churn out of Powell's arms, and each time he took a step out, it was Hightower, and then finally Herschel Forrest, who came in, caused Janowicz finally to retreat, and they stilled the powerhouse on the 43-yard line. But it clicked for a first. You'll recall about 4.5 needed, and that's 7 first downs racked up by the Buckeyes, with a 1st and 10 to go from the Ohio State 43-yard line. 11 minutes and 25 seconds to go in the first half of play. Still no score. SMU and Ohio State in a stout battle it's been between two finely arranged teams. Ball is to Wilkes again. He's dropping back as though to pass. And he does cock his arm and shoot one, which is complete to the SMU 41 into the arms of Bob Joslin on the 41-yard line. Joslin tried to allow Bill Rippey to overshoot and took a backward step, and as he did, Bill Chrysler laid it into him and dropped him back on the 42-yard line. Had the pass made around the 40-yard line, as a matter of fact, on the catch, and then as Joslin tried to slide away from the tackle, he stepped back a yard or two, and it cost him 2 yards to the pony 42-yard stripe. But that racks up another 1st and 10 to go, and Bill Wilkes has now gone aloft for the Buckeye team. And just before we went back into play, the referee tooted the whistle and penalizes Ohio State 5 for spending too much time in the huddle. That shoves the ball back to the 47-yard line in the SMU end of the field. Leaves the down stand at number 1, but the yards needed for a first now 15 yards. Wilkes has it, drops back for a pass. He's being rushed, badly rushed, tries to break free, and as he does, he regains the 47, and that's all. Herschel Forrester is laying for him on the line of scrimmage. It appeared that a couple of the lads ran together in the Ohio State backfield that time, and finally Wilkes managed to shake himself free from the tangle. A 6-man defensive front now with a secondary spread. A shovel pass goes wide to Janowicz, wide out to the left, and Janowicz cocks his arm to pass. Pulls the trigger on one. It's complete to Ralph Armstrong, and Armstrong is hooked to the ground on the 36-yard line. The red flag is down at that point. Immediately the pass is completed. The tackle made by Bill Rippey and by Dave Powell at the SMU 36. And the officials are now talking things over. Here's the penalty against SMU for 5, 10, and 15 yards, which moves the ball down to the Pony 21-yard line, 15 yards from the point of that contact there. The Ponies relaxed that 8-man defensive front these last 2 plays just before the snap. 7 diamonds. Here's the standard tee, the ball to Wilkes. Shoves it over to Janowicz, and Janowicz, who headed to the left, now heads to the right. Cocks his right arm as though to pass. He's throwing one down into the end zone. There's a tackle for it, incomplete. And it was Ralph Armstrong who was Janowicz's target. He picked up the ball around his chest on first bounce as Dave Powell made a slide in an effort to get one off the grass tops. And as he and Armstrong collided about 5 yards deep in the end zone, the ball, which was coming rather low, Janowicz was being badly pressed by Jerry Clem that time. The pass coming too low, it skated into them on the bounce. Bernie Skavarka, Tony Cursillo has now returned to the man under spot, replacing Wilkes for the Ohio State boys. Cleve and Wagner survived the change, and now the play. 2nd and 10. The ball this time is to Cursillo. Heads wide out to the right, still going wide. Leaps and throws one, which is complete in the end zone to Benny Bob Joslin. We'll wait for a signal from the officials, and they're checking with each other. Up overhead, a touchdown for Ohio State as Joslin catches a pass about 2 yards deep in the end zone. He was very low, picked it off his shoe tops that time, and as the 4 officials gazed at each other, then they nodded their heads up with the arms, and Ohio State leads 6-0 over SMU with 9 minutes and 5 seconds of playing time to go in the first half of play. Dick Arledge to have the trial to hold. Arledge to hold, yes, and Janowicz to try. There's the snapback rather low. There's the kick. Up go the arms, and it's 7-0. Ohio State over SMU, and Janowicz, who converted 26 out of 36 in 1950, has racked up his 1-for-1 in the 1950. steps into the ball, kicks a spinner, which is very high and very deep. 5 yards deep in the end zone. Musselwhite, he's back in the field of play. Comes to the 5, hits the 10, right down the middle of the main street to the 15, the 20, the 21-yard line. And there, 4 scarlet jerseyed Ohio State lads who are laying for him and put the clamps on. Tackus, Campanella, Armstrong, and Merrill, all arriving just about the same time. And here's the Y formation as the ball goes to Musselwhite. Gives it over this time to Russell. Russell tries the left side, and as he knocks at the door, there's nothing for him. Fred Bruni, Dick Logan make the tackles. And it's second down coming up and 10 to go. Musselwhite, stalling work Russell and Norton in the business department for SMU as they spread the right side, go unbalanced wide to the right, set up a double wing in the backfield. And the ball is deep to Norton. Norton hands it off wide to Russell. Russell fades all the way back to the 7, shoots a pass incomplete. The lad to whom it was intended that time had a little difficulty trying to get over in position, and his feet deserted him. Bennell Musselwhite it was, as Musselwhite tried to get back on a pass which was coming rather low. He lost his footing, and Mark Beakley of the defense came over and almost had his mittens on the ball for an interception. That's the first incompleted pass racked up against the SMU team. Third down coming and still 10 to go for the SMU team. Again, they spread the line wide to the right, set up a double wing, and again it's Norton who has the ball, fakes a pass and runs out to the 25, hit on the 28 and dropped on the 28-yard line by Bob Hyde and Lou Fisher. 3 SMU lads romp out on the field on this first down try, and it cost SMU 5 yards for illegal substitution, which moves the ball back to the 23. It's Norton back in the kick slot, stands on his own 11, takes the snap, gets his toe into the ball, a double safety setup. The ball goes to the far man. It takes a bounce on the 40, and it's picked up on first bounce by Skabarka on his own 38. He fights back to the 41, 2-yard line, and is rubbed out on the Ohio State 42 by Cadwalder, by Russell, and by Bill Fox, who had just checked into the line on the snap. 42 yards on the kick off Jerry Norton's toe. The defense, the 5-man defensive line. The ball is to Cursillo. Keeps. Pitches out just as he's tackled, gives the ball over to Skabarka. Skabarka finds a little running room, slants out to his right across the 45, gets on out to the 49, perhaps midfield where he's picked up by Pat Knight and dropped. Cursillo gambling that time as he began to melt in the arms of Ike Robb and was almost on the ground, leaning way forward. He handed the ball over with one hand. It came laterally about 3 yards. Skabarka picked it up and raced it on out for about another 3 from the point at which the passover was made. Second down coming up, about 2.5 to go, and it's the Ohio State team's ball on midfield. This time to Cleve. He tries to jackknife over the right side of the line, getting those 2.5 that were needed for a first down, and he's arrested around the 48-yard stripe. The entire center of the SMU defensive herd, Clem, Robb, Hightower, Cadwalder, and Russell, all rising up on the play, and Cleve, who had jackknifed, came down with his knees on the backs of an entire nest of white-jerseyed SMU defenders, and his buckle over the right guard position. Third and about a half-yard to go. The snap. Ball to Cursillo, and he tries a quarterback sneaker at left guard, and it's going to be very close for a first around the 47.5-yard line. Thompson, Jim Thompson, Dick Hightower, and Cadwalder all waiting for the play. As they're finally unraveled, the ball is spotted on the 46.5, and it does clear for a first down. So Ohio State moves on. They've racked up an even 10 first downs against the Ponies, and it's 1st and 10 for Ohio State on SMU's 46.5-yard line. Fakes, then gives to Skabarka. Skabarka at right tackle, cuts away to his left as he gets into the secondary and is dropped around the 42 or 3-yard line. We'll see just where the ball is finally stopped, because Hightower laid such a tackle that he carried Skabarka all the way back to the 45-yard line, just about where this play began. But his forward point was the 42.5, so ran about 2.5 yards on the play. Second down coming up, 7.5 needed for a first down. The ball's resting almost midway between SMU's 40 and 45-yard line. The defense is rearranged once again, and you have a 7-1-3 with the defensive left halfback standing very near the line of scrimmage. The flags are down as the pass goes back to Cursillo, and he's back as though to pass. He's dropped for substantial loss back to the 50-yard line, and it was Bob Hooks who was on him all the way and never allowed him to get free. And as Cursillo tried to stiff arm Hooks and get rid of him, Harry Dean seized him around the ankles and dropped him back on the 50-yard stripe. Pat Knight goes in to have a word with the officials on that last play. 2 flags were down. Backfield in motion is ruled against Ohio State and declined by SMU. So 3rd and something like 14, although the ball is shading the 50 in SMU territory. It leans just across the midfield stripe. The ball goes over this time to Jack Wagner. Wagner tries right guard and the cutback, slices just inside the defensive linebacker and fights down to the SMU 48. Picking up about 2, he's met first by Hightower. Cadwalder also shook free, as did Jim Thompson. And those 3 lads applied a 3-pronged tackle on Wagner's effort to apply power to the left defensive side of the SMU line. That last play, 42, is the 4th down try. The snap to Janowicz is rather high, but he controls it and gets another nice kickoff, which is in the arms of Norton on his own 9. to the 10, comes to the 15, shakes a hula hip to the right, then to the left, and gets another 2 to the 17-yard line, where he's picked up first by Bob Joslin and then by Joe Campanella. 38 yards off Janowick's toe on that last kick, and Norton handling himself quite well. He decoyed and faked beautifully to allow the first 2 men to challenge to overshoot. It's SMU on the attack again, 1st and 10 to go. Musselwhite goes in to staff the quarterback. Jerry Norton stays at left halfback. We'll rack up at the right halfback position. Bill Forrest is in it full, and here's the play. As the ball goes to Norton this time, he's wide out to the right, cocks his arm, is out of pass, now finds a broken field and runs through it to the 22-yard line, and he's seized there by Lou Fisher and by Bernie Scavarca, who came crowding in on the play. So it's second coming up, 5 to go. Double wings, the line spread and strong to the right. The ball is back this time to Jerry Norton. He's back as though to pass again, and he tries the weak side out to the 20, the 25, hit on the 30-yard line, and down he goes, clearing for a first down with about 3 yards to spare. Joe Campanella making the tackle and falling back with Norton's charge. The SMU line goes strong to the right, and it's spread to the right, double wing in the backfield. The ball this time is to Henry Stallingworth. Fakes it off, tries to lug through the middle of the line, and is dropped for just about a yard loss on the 29. And Joe Campanella was the lad who was not deceived by that bit of strategy. 6-2-3, 6-2-2-1, and now it's spread a little bit into a 5-3-3. Strong to the right, a double wing, close double wing is off it as the snap goes to Norton. The deep man hits wide out to the right, across the line of scrimmage, still hitting wide to the right to the 35, the 40, is hit around the 43 and sailed out of bounds on the SMU 44-yard line. Vic Janowick went in that time and sailed through the air with the greatest of ease, and had he missed that fast stepping back that time, and he almost did, he got his left arm out just enough to get the top of a shoe. He caused the ball carrier to go off balance and sailed him out of bounds, and Janowick then wrapped himself up and fell in a roll and a spin some 5 or 6 yards after barely getting enough of a hand on the tackle to upset the play. But 43-yard line, here's a 5-3-3 once again on the defense. A tight double wing is set up. The line is strong to the right. The deep man is Benton Musselwhite. The ball goes to Rusty Russell instead. He hands it off to Musselwhite. Musselwhite wide out to the left. Hasn't yet regained the line of scrimmage. He digs first to the right, then the left. Oversteps the first tackler, crosses the 45, and down he goes on the 46-yard line in the arms of Fred Bruni and Dick Arledge, who came hustling in on the play. 80 seconds still to go in the first half. Ohio State 7, SMU nothing. Set up a double wing. And the wing on the strong side is wide out. The ball is to Norton. Norton was the deep man. Fades back for a pass. Pulls the trigger on a prodigious pass. Failing long downfield. It's intercepted on the 15 by Bruni. He's out to the 20, the 25, the 30, 35, the 40. Across midfield to SMU's 45. He backs up a little bit and is dropped on the 48-yard line. And it was Jimmy Horn who flagged him down that time, caused him to retreat. And as he did, Jerry Norton and Ike Robb came slicing in from right and left and dropped Bruni on the 48-yard line. That pass, quite tall that time, was sailing long, and Bruni had to come in a little bit. He was not permitting any potential receivers on the SMU side to get in behind him, and he kept backing up, jigging backward all the way as first Horn and then Ben White came down in position to receive. The pass was over the heads of its intended receivers, and Bruni hustled up to take the snatch and run on out across midfield to SMU's 48-yard line, where he's finally hustled in. Tackle. Ike Robb at left guard. Hightower's backing up the line. I.D. Russell at right guard. Backing up the line. Forrester playing defensive right guard. But now here's the play. The ball is sent to Cursillo. Shoots it out wide to Scavarca. Scavarca's still back at the line of scrimmage. There's his cut. He crosses the line, fights on down to the 46, and is shoveled out of bounds by Bill Forrester, who laid squarely across the hips and blocked him out of bounds to arrest the run on the SMU 46-yard line. So it worked for 2. A wide swinging sweep to the left side, finally climaxing as it reached the sidelines on the far side. Second down coming in 8 to go, and it's Ohio State in possession at the 20-46. 7-0 the score. The Buckeyes leading SMU. End of the standard tee, the balanced line, the ball to Cursillo, fades wide out to the left, bucks across right guard, finds a little running room and sneaks on down to the 41-yard line. He was using that pitch out as a constant threat to keep the left defensive side of the SMU line from closing in too tight, and Forrester finally said it's now or never. He challenged Cursillo and dropped him on the SMU 41, where it's third down coming up and about 2 yards to go for the first down. Now the play. Cursillo is the first man up and out, takes the snap, heads out wide to the left. Here's the pitch out, a basket pass complete to Cleve. Cleve crosses the line of scrimmage to the 35, hits on the 30 and run out of bounds, although he finally circles back on the field of play, and it was Val Joe Walker who punched him out of bounds on the 31, climaxed the play, and caused it to stop at the 30-yard line. That was the point of the step out. 1st and 10 to go, 8 seconds still to go, and the clock stopping on the out-of-bounds play as Val Joe Walker made a saving tackle. Cleve is a very fast boy, the fastest man in the Ohio State backfield at 164, 5 feet 9, and he's slick and slippery. He almost eluded Walker, and Walker made a desperate lunge for him just to cause a half step out of bounds before he came back in the field again. 1st and 10, Ohio State on SMU's 30. The ball is this time to Wilkes, who checked in at the man under. He's still running wide out to the right, apparently going to gamble for a quick score on these last few seconds. And he's dropped and is forced to lose that ball on the 40-yard line in the pony end of the field, whether or not the whistle blew before that ball was jarred loose by Bill Forrester. Wilkes waited that time for his ends to uncover. And as the play was killed back on the 40, why, that's the clock ran out, and that's the last play of the first half. So it's academics whether or not the play was killed or the possession lost, for the clock had stopped as Wilkes was still running wide out to the right. So the first half ends with the score Ohio State 7, SMU nothing. This game formation introduced by Ohio State's new coach. There's the whistle and the kickoff, and it's rather low, just about a yard off the ground, but bounding down to the 11, taken by Musselwhite, to the 15, the 20, the 25, and out of bounds he goes around the 28-yard line, far side of the field, hit first by Campanella, then by Fred Bruni, and Vic Janowicz, the lad who just kicked off from the artificial tee down on Ohio State's 40-yard line. So for the first offensive scrimmage now of the second half of play, Ohio State 7, SMU nothing, and it's the Ponies on their own 28-yard line, the point of the run out, 1st and 10 to go. Musselwhite stays in at the quarterback position. Fred Benners is also checked in, which puts him in the left halfback position in this particular formation. Rusty Russell Jr. at right halfback, Pat Knight at fullback, and in this reversible backfield setup used by Coach Rusty Russell Sr., it's difficult to assign positions. The ball is back to Benner, and he's back for a pass, shoots a long one, it's still towering. Rusty Russell has it on the 45 in Ohio State end of the field. Wells gets another 6 yards to the 39-yard line, and is snuffed out there by Benny Skavarker and Fred Bruni, who finally came in from the side. Rusty Russell Jr. made a brilliant catch down around the 45-yard line, for he would duck well over to his left after running straight down the sideline, but Benners had that ball laying over his left shoulder. Russell had some difficulty controlling the ball, for he was a bit out of position when he caught it, but he took it off his right shoulder pad, got it back to his stomach, and worked down 33 yards for a 1st and 10 just inside Ohio State's 40 on the 39. Benners is back once again. This was single wing to the right, still back, and he's up to the ground for a long loss back to the SMU 48-yard line, and it was Joe Campanella, 226-pound left tackle, who went in that time, and as Benners kept trying to give ground and elude Campanella, Dick Logan came in from the opposite side, and those two lads put an aggregate of 450 pounds of defensive thrust into Benners' arms, hugged Benners' arms to his sides, and finally pressed him for a loss all the way back to SMU's 47, with second down coming up, about 23 or 4 yards to go for a first down. Benners never able to uncover his receivers that time, for the entire defensive line, with the exception of tackles and guards, seemed to break to float back and cover all SMU's eligible receivers. Here's the strong side right, double wing in the SMU backfield. Benners is deep again. Benners has the ball again, and again he's back. He fumbles, but he holds on to that ball, takes it on the bounce, and is dropped for another loss back to the 38-yard line, and he was laid a terrific defensive blow by Sherwin Gandy and Joe Campanella once again. Benners was tapping that ball into his left hand, waiting for those receivers to go downfield, but apparently looking up, he seemed to see Gandy and Campanella pounding down upon him. He shoved away to his left, trying to elude those two boys, and as he did, the ball fell to the ground. He caught it on first bounce and then immediately vanished from view as the two huge red-jerseyed, scarlet-jerseyed Ohio State boys smothered him back on the 37. Benners smothered the first time when he stepped back, and then recovering a fumble to keep for a loss on the second time out. The snap is back to Benners again, and this time he's back on his own 20. And there's a long cannonball throw downfield, a fight for it. It's intercepted by Bruni on the Ohio State 31-yard line. That ball tipped in the air by Bennett Musselwhite, the lad to whom it was intended. Fred Bruni was coming over along with Dick Arledge on the defense. Arledge and Musselwhite got all tangled up. They managed to tip the ball. It was difficult to see just which one tipped it last, for they both got their fingertips on it, shoved it into the air, and laid it in perfect position for a basketball-like interception by Fred Bruni, who immediately fell on top of the intended receiver and the lad who had been down to challenge him for possession. Musselwhite running full tilt all by himself. So the Buckeyes go to the attack on their own 31, 1st and 10, the stand at T. Cursillo is the man under. Cursillo takes, gives over to Janowicz. Janowicz wide to the right. Here's his cut to the line of scrimmage out to the 35. Overhaul from behind and drop on the 39-yard line. And Gene Gillis was the lad who went through that time, went floating through the air over the prostrate form of one of his own mates, and seized Janowicz around the shoulders, tossed him off balance, and got him tangled up with the effort by two other SMU boys who were diving very low on Janowicz's heels. Race the ball out then for a pickup of about 8.5 yards. Second down coming up, 1.5 yards needed for a first down. It's Ohio State just outside its own 39-yard line, and the stand at T. Here's a 7-4 on the defense. The ball to Cursillo. Whirls gives to Cleve. Cleve to the left side. Slices inside left end across the 40 to the 43-yard stripe. Jerry Clem, I.D. Russell, and Harry Dean come in on the tackle on the 43. As it's working now, yes, on the 43. The Ponies have been relieving a man from that defensive line these last two plays, and they've done it once again. Oh, the linebackers close 7-1-3. The ball to Cursillo, hands over this time to Hamilton on an end around, and Hamilton gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all there is. There isn't any more. I.D. Russell was laying for that one and got a mitten from Jimmy Horn, and as Russell went low, Horn came high, and they caught Hamilton high and low and dropped him at the 43-yard stripe, 43 and a half, which made the end around. The second time Ohio State has used it this afternoon, clicked for about a half yard. Second down coming up, and 9.5 needed for a first down. And Chrysler is playing a little bit closer to the line. The standard tee, the ball to Cursillo, whirls, gives to Janowicz. Janowicz on a double handoff to Cleve. Cleve is losing lots of ground to the 35. Now he tries to recover and is tossed for a loss all the way back to his own 40. And it was Bob Hooks who had the thread needle precision to get through the wave of blockers which had pulled out in front on a double handoff. The snap to Cursillo, to Janowicz, to Cleve. And Hooks was the lad who had it all diagnosed and dropped it for a 3-yard loss back to the Ohio State 40-yard line. Third and about 13 to go then. Ohio State on its own 40-yard stripe. Is a six-man defensive line, 6-1-4. The ball to Cursillo, gives to Janowicz. Janowicz fakes the handoff but keeps this time, and as he tries to tunnel his way into the right guard position, he mushrooms squarely into the arms first of Pat Knight, I.D. Russell, Dick Hightower, and Buford Partee, all having disentangled themselves from Lou Fisher, Bob Hyde, and Dick Logan to clear once again for the tackle and arrest the ground game offered by Ohio State, and present the Buckeyes with a fourth down coming up and 11 yards needed for a first down, running now from the 42.5-yard stripe. For the SMU team, they retreat to their own 20, and Janowicz goes back in the kick spot, stands on the Buckeye 27, takes the snap, got a good one this time, gets the ball off and kicks a towering spiral with the wind. Price Chrysler takes it on his own 5, and he's out to the 10, hits the 15, tries to work away to the right, and as he does, one of the Campanella it is who got his right hand on Chrysler's right leg, and Bob Joslin comes in to seize him around the shoulders and lay him to the ground on the 17-yard line. 52 yards off Janowicz throwing the kick, and a stoutly played run back by Bill Chrysler, who had to go back to field the ball and then return it 12 yards to the 17-yard stripe, yes, with a first down coming up and 10 to go. The Ponies move to the attack. And here's Fred Benners, who has moved in. So check out Forrester, check Benners in. And Benners in the deep spot as SMU goes strong to the right double wing. The snap to Benners. He trays Bates to his own 5. Gets one away, and it's complete down to the 25 into the arms of Rusty Russell Jr. And Rusty is immediately hit hard. It looks as though there may have been a fumble just as he was contacted around the 22-yard line. But the referee blew the whistle at the point of the catch on the 25, and all the action that occurred following that point, although Mr. Russell was rather badly handled by Steve Ruzick and Dick Janowicz on the tackle, the play was killed at the point of the catch, for the whistle blew, the forward progress did. It stands up then for a gain of about 8 yards on the 25-yard line, and it's second down coming up, 2 to go for a first down. It worked in squarely behind the center of the Ohio State defense. Second and 2 to go from the 25. The ball this time is direct to Musselwhite, and he breaks away quickly over the left side of the line, scrapping for the extra yardage, which will set SMU up with a fresh series of downs. He beats on down around the 28, the 29-yard line. A first and 10 it is. Musselwhite riding hard on a quick breaking play over Buford Partee at left guard and clearing for a first with a yard to spare. So that's 6 first downs set up by SMU, and they move along with a clean slate, 10 fresh yards and four downs in which to make from the 28.5-yard line in the Pony end of the field. That causes the Ohio State team to break its defensive ranks a bit. It's a 5-3-3 on the defense as SMU comes strong to the right, sets up a double wing. Benners in the deep spot, takes the snap. He's jigging back, still going back. Now he tucks the ball and runs to the 25, the 30, up to the 35. He cuts to his right, and as he does, his feet betray him. His cleats fail to hold, and he drops on the 37-yard line. Racing it out neatly that time, Benners did, for he was, as a matter of fact, the decoy of that strong, spring-like right arm of his had set all of the Ohio State secondary defenders down to recover potential receivers, and it left Mr. Benners with a practically clear field for the first 8 or 10 yards of that scamper. When, of course, the Ohio State team saw what he was about to do and had crossed the line of scrimmage, which nullified his passing threat, they converged upon him and dropped him out on the 37, where it's second down coming 2 to go. The second time that Mr. Benners has used his passing threat in order to get ground yardage. Again, the SMU team spreads the line to the right, strong to the right, double wing, and again Benners takes the snap, and again he jigs back. It's a pass right over the middle to Musselwhite on the 40, the 45, across midfield, hit in a shoestring tackle which causes him to topple forward on the Ohio State 44-yard line. Musselwhite had only to get over that lad in order to be long gone, but it was Dick Arledge who got his hand high that time, seemed to flag it at Musselwhite, caused him to break stride, and dropped him on the 43, and from the point of that tackle, Ohio State is drawing a penalty for 15 yards, which automatically shoves the ball down to the 27-yard line. Unnecessary roughness is the signal, the military salute. But let's not lose sight of a beautifully executed pass, for Benners has been throwing with all his might long downfield, and that last was a spot pass, just dunked over the line, and it found Musselwhite picking up the ball, plucked it right out of the O-zone, and then whirled away behind blockers Bill Forrester and Rusty Russell, who were downfield ahead of him. 1st and 10, SMU on the Ohio State 28-yard line. Musselwhite's back. Benners has the ball instead. Takes the snap, still going back, finally gets rid of it, and it's incomplete, intended to Rusty Russell Jr. on the 24. Janowicz and Beakley came over to contest for possession of that pass, but it was a bit low, and as Russell went through to make his catch, he had to fall forward and picked it up on first down. Find the position to which the eligible receivers from the SMU ends and backfield move. The snap to the short man instead. It goes to Henry Sollenwerk, and he tugs, lugs, and fights his way down to the 27, where he's picked up first by Steve Ruzick and also by Bob Hyde at center, and he's trapped on the 26.5-yard line. So an effort that time to try power on a quick breaking play instead of the long shot back to the deep man, and that would be the potential pass of Fred Benners. 5-3-3, the defense on the snap is to Benners once again, and another pass pattern develops as he finally gets rid of it into the left flat to Bill Forrester. Takes it on the 30, to the 25, the 20, down to the 15, the 14, the 13, before he's finally snuffed out on the 13-yard line by Janowicz, by Bruni, and by Bob Hyde, who faded back on the play. So it's 1st and 10 to go with about 6 yards to spare for SMU, and a pass into the left flat to Bill Forrester found a great cloak of blockers waiting for him. Mike Robb, Jerry Clem, and Jim Mayhew, playing at left end, had all barged out in front that time to give cover, and it worked excellently as the Ohio State secondary seemed a bit baffled to finally look upfield and find a short man in possession of the ball. Time is called by Ohio State, 7-0 Ohio State and SMU. Ponies on the Ohio State 13, 1st and 10 to go. The ball this time is handed over from Benners to Musselwhite. He's trapped back of the line of scrimmage and loses about 4 yards to the 18-yard line. It was Joe Campanella. He came bursting through like a cannonball. He had that play all diagnosed apparently, for it was a fast handoff with Benners fading back as though to pass, then shoved the ball in front of himself. Musselwhite swept it off his hands, and there was Campanella laying for him. The ball resting right around the 18-yard stripe in the Ohio State end of the field. Here's a double wing. Benners again fakes it off this time and then shoots one off to the right flat. There's going to be a battle for it. It's incomplete down on the 1-yard line. And Fred Benners to Rusty Russell was the passing combination. Vic Janowicz was the lad who went over to get into the contest. And as Russell reached back to try and pick that ball out from behind his headgear, Janowicz also made a stab for it to try and catch it before it fell to the ground. The two lads got all tied up, fell out of bounds themselves, and the ball rolled over the goal line. A breathtaking moment as Benners, gambling wide off to the right, he had faded well back and was decoying with his eyes, feinting to the left all the time, as though to throw to that flat man off to the left. And then he turned suddenly and almost without looking, popped one down to Russell. Russell down at that right wing back position once again on a double wing setup. The scattered line, the ball is back to Benners, and he's jigging back to the 30, still jigging, running laterally to the right, tucks the ball and runs with it. 25, he's down to the 15, and he's raced out of bounds around the 11 or 12-yard line. Blasted out by Dick Arledge, who chose that time not to try and make a tackle, but simply to lay his body in a sort of a cross. Benners standing straight up, Arledge standing, or rather lying horizontally across Benners' body, and he poked him out on the 12-yard stripe. That fetches up 4th down and leaves SMU needing about 8.5, nearly 9 yards to go for the first down. He's long gone. He headed for the sidelines, picked up a corridor blocking around the 25, and then fielded himself on down to the 11.5 or 12-yard line. Now here's the 4th down try. The ball is back to Benners. He's back once again to a pass. Shoots one to the left flat. Complete to Forrester to the 10. He's down to the 5, to the 4. In trouble on the 3 and is stuffed out on the 3. It's going to be very close for a first down on that 3.5-yard line. It was Janowicz and Bruni once again who were giving Forrester a very bad time of it for about 3 yards. For Forrester, who caught the pass in the left flat once again, had to scrap and fight his way. He tugged by sheer bull strength out of the arms of the first man to intercept him around the 9-yard line, and then just kept on plowing. Time is called for an exact measurement. A critical point it is for the Ponies. The ball is resting around the 3.5-yard line. Down goes the spike. The ball goes over, missing by just about 1 foot of first down yardage on a 4th down pass, which found Forrester tugging, fighting, and scrapping for all he had to try to get inside that 3-yard line. The ball goes over to Ohio State on its own 3.5. Clevey and Wagner in the backfield. The ball to Cursillo. The flag's down. Clevey has it. He's back in his own end zone, but he runs back out to the 3 and is dropped on the 3-yard line. The flags went floating just as quickly as that play began to emanate on the snapback from Bob Hyde to Cursillo. Bill Rippey charged through, seized Clevey, and dropped him on the 3, which makes it play stand up for about a yard loss if stand up it does. It's difficult to tell about the options, for Hyde is in for the conversations for Ohio State. And backfield in motion is ruled against Ohio State and declined by SMU. State on the offense, replacing Ray Hamilton at the left-end position. And now it's Ohio State, who punched all the way back to its own 3. Janowicz is standing 8 yards deep in the end zone. There's the snap. He barely gets that ball over the head of Harry Dean. It's coming down to go out of bounds. Somewhere between the 40 and 45-yard lines, it appears, in the Ohio State end of the field. Bill Crisler, the safety man, we'll see just where it crossed the sidelines when the referees mark the point of the out, and that happens to be the 37-yard line in Ohio State's end of the field. And as they come up now to the huddle, they go with a tight line, strong to the right, a double wing, set in very tight. Benners is the deep man, and Benners has the snap, and again he's back for a pass, and again he does pass. Floating in the air to Musselwhite, there's going to be a battle. It's almost intercepted and dropped as Musselwhite, the man to whom it was intended, crashes into Fred Bruni, who almost had himself an interception but couldn't hold on under the punishment of veteran Musselwhite, who laid a tremendous blast into him, for the interceptor had worked inside the receiver. The pass was a bit short for Musselwhite, who had run all the way down to his own 5. And as Arledge got that hand on the ball and tried to bring it into his chest, Musselwhite tackled, and the ball fell away. It goes incomplete. It comes back to the 37. Second down coming up. Still 10 to go. Still SMU in Ohio State territory. 3 minutes and 39 seconds to go in the third quarter. 7-0. The Buckeyes on top. The tight line again, double wing. The ball is back to Benners again, and he's all the way back to midfield. And here's a long pass right down the middle. Complete it is on the 20-yard line to Rusty Russell. Russell melts immediately in the arms of Bob Hyde and Fred Bruni on the 20 as quickly as he catches that ball. He was hit with such force there that rubber-like he bounced forward a yard to the 21, and that is where the play is killed. But it's a 1st and 10 to go. 17 yards picked up, and the 9th first down offered by the SMU team, as it's very much in this ball game, trailing 7 points and riding the long buggy whip-like arm of Fred Benners, who has been finding Rusty Russell a good solid target downfield. 1st and 10, it's SMU on Ohio State's 21-yard line. Ohio State is releasing that secondary defense once again, too. A 4-man front is all that stands up, but now they bring another man in. It's a 5-man front, and it's 5-3-3 as the spread goes in the SMU line, and Benners takes the snap from deep. He's still fading back. There's a jump. There's a pass. There's a catch to Musselwhite, and guard free on the 15-yard line, and a pile-up for it on the off chance that it may have been ruled a catch and fumble rather than an incompleted pass, and it was SMU hawking that ball to take advantage of anything that developed in or against the SMU team. And it is picked up at the 18-yard line, so it was an incompleted pass, fumble, and recovery by SMU on the Ohio State 18, and it was Bill Fox who hawked that ball, taking no chances, and after it was jarred out of Musselwhite's arm on the catch, Fox recovers for a pickup of about 2 yards with second down coming up, 8 to go. The ball resting on the 18.5-yard line. The Ohio State end of the field is the tight line. Benners is deep again. Benners still going back, and he's still going back, and finally he pulls the trigger on one down in the end zone. It's intercepted by Janowicz in the end zone, and he falls down to automatically set up a touchback for Ohio State in the end zone. Janowicz sweeping in front of Rusty Russell, the man to whom that pass was intended. Russell had gotten back about 5 yards deep, and there Fred Bruni was trying to cover him. And as Russell was trying to jockey for position and Bruni trying to prevent being out-jockeyed, along came Janowicz, who swept in front of both of those lads, caught the ball about 5 yards deep in the end zone, then retreated about 7 yards deep, trying to decide apparently whether or not to try and run the ball out or automatically kill it. And finally, judgment dictated to Janowicz to fall down. He did fall down, and the ball goes over to Ohio State on a touchback. Ohio State topping the scrappy SMU Mustangs, always a threat with Fred Benners in there pegging. Here's the T formation. Cursillo's under, Flaker set out to the left, the ball to Wagner. Wagner tries thunder at the line and is dropped for no gain on the 20. Russell, I.D. Russell it is, Hightower and Ike Roth pinching him off just as he returns to the line of scrimmage. So it's second down coming and still 10 to go. Center for SMU, and Cursillo, Janowicz, Cleve, and Wagner man the offense for Ohio State. And the snap. Back to Cursillo, a shovel pass out to Janowicz. Janowicz well back of the line of scrimmage, and he stays there. It was Bill Fox who went through, seized Janowicz around the shoulder, and cost the Ohio State team 2 yards when Partee and Riley made the collaboration tackle on the 18-yard stripe. Third down coming, and now 12 yards needed for a first down. 3rd and 12 to go. Janowicz never able to get really untangled from the left defensive side of the... Here's a quick kick off Janowicz's toe, and it's rolling as it hits around the 50-yard line, rolls back to SMU's 40, takes a curious roll and whirls back to the Ohio State 47 where it's whistled dead. One of those silly tricks that a football plays when it stands on end. It was down in SMU's end of the field. It was being chased very rapidly by Ben and Musselwhite, and then it curled and rolled back toward Ohio State's end of the field. And a 26-yard quick kicker designed to ram SMU back on its heels fails to come off as the ball takes a curious twist and rolls dead on the Ohio State. That's the 48. I think I called it the 47. It's the 48-yard line. So the Ponies move to the attack, and they're still in Ohio State territory with 51 seconds still to play in the third quarter of play. Buckeyes leading 7-0. Now here comes SMU with Musselwhite, Benners, Russell, and Forrester in the backfield. The ball is back to Benners. He's still going back, and he shoots a flat pass to Forrester. It's completed behind the line of scrimmage. He's back to the line of scrimmage, plus 1, 2, 3 to the 45-yard line, and that's all there is as Dick Walther and Joe Campanelli make the tackles. By the way, you have to pat Mr. Forrester on the back that time. He managed to control that ball under the greatest of difficulty, for he was playing out on the left flat, and just as he caught that pass, he seemed to stumble as he was going backward all the way, looking Benners squarely in the face, and in the stumble, he seemed to lose control of the ball. Somehow, he managed to get back to his feet and get that ball in running position. Then he set out and tugged and thundered his way from his own 45 back to the Ohio State 45 for a gain of about 3 yards. Second down coming up and 7 to go, with SMU operating now on the Buckeye 45-yard line. They spread the line. There's the whistle, and the third quarter ends with the score, Ohio State 7, SMU nothing. Now, referee had just spotted the ball while the SMU team checks back in its huddle. I think perhaps we've got a moment to give you a few quick scores of other games. The final score, State 48, the ball is back to Benners. Benners jigs back to his own 40, pulls the trigger on a long one, which is intercepted by Dick Arledge on the Ohio State 35. He's back to the 40, the 45, across midfield to the SMU 45 for 3-yard line, and there he's dropped by Ben White. White going in to seize Arledge. Ohio State playing heads-up ball on the interception. That would be number 5, Eddie. Number 5 in the interception league for the Buckeye team, and fourth interception by the secondary of the Buckeye team as they are trying to combat Fred Benner's air game, one with which they had an ample occasion to get well aware of in 1950. So it's Ohio State on the attack, and they own the ball now on SMU's 43, the point to which the interception was returned by Dick Arledge. Cursillo runs the T-attack for the Buckeyes, and the ball is quick to Jack Wagner. It's a fast-breaking play over center to the 40, down to the 37. There's a fumble on the 37 and a pile-up as they go weaving in from right and left to trap the ball, but the last man off the pile is the man who carried, Jack Wagner, managing to scoop that ball by curving his arm out and getting it back into under his arm, yes, he got it back under his arm again just as they lifted off the pile. So the play stands up for about 6 yards with second down coming and 4 to go. A burst right over center, Captain Bob Hyde leading the thrust. The play once again, a flanker out to the right, the ball to Cursillo, and he's back for a quick pass, hasn't gotten rid of it. He's being rushed and finally lugs the ball back to the line of scrimmage, plus 1 to the 36. I.D. Russell was the lad who was laying for Cursillo that time in the thrust back. Third down coming up, about 3 to go for a first down. Ball resting at the SMU 37-yard line. Here's the standard tee with the top of the backfield in tight. SMU sets up a 7-man line. The ball is to Janowicz. Janowicz tries the right side, leaps over right guard, gets the 34, the flag's down, and Janowicz got on down around the 34-yard stripe where he ambled into the arms of Bob Hooks, who fell back with the play. Pat Knight and Herschel Forrester also got in on it on the 34. The option rested with SMU, and they have elected to take the penalty. So step off 5 against Ohio State, backfield in motion against the Bucks, and that moves the ball back to the SMU 40-yard line. The down is preserved at 3, and the yardage now to be gained about 7. Harold Dean has gone in the defensive left end. Bob Hooks moves to right. Here's the flanker out to the left as Cursillo takes the snap, heads wide out to the left. Trying to find a receiver. No, he runs for it, directs his blockers, bucks across the line of scrimmage, and fights down for 4 more to the 36-yard line. Pat Knight is the lad who was never carried out of the play. Cursillo running wide to the left that time, trying to spread the secondary, but the defensive line followed the play all the way. And as Cursillo arrived back on the line of scrimmage, he called out to Lou Fisher, take that man. But Pat Knight was not being taken, and he made his tackle on the 36-yard line to bring up the 4th down try and leave Ohio State still about 2.5 yards shy of a first down. And by the prospect of a duel between Fred Benners and All-American Dick Janowicz. And I dare say that what our listeners have heard up to now have kept them glued to their loudspeakers, for this has been a whale of an exciting game, which we may conclude is not yet settled with 13 minutes and 6 seconds to play, a touchdown separating the two. T formation as the ball goes to Cursillo. He's running the ball. He crosses the line of scrimmage down to the 30 and is rammed out of bounds on the 26. And it stands up for a first down with yards to spare as I.D. Russell finally leaped over 2 blockers and tugged Cursillo out of bounds on the 26-yard stripe. Got his first down with about 3 yards to spare. So that's 12 first downs racked up by the Bucks, and it's 1st and 10 to go. 10 on the SMU 26-yard line. The ball to Cursillo. Hands over to Skavarka. Skavarka tries the right side. He's hit 1, 2, 3 times and dropped for a loss. Back to the 29-yard line, and it was Herschel Forrester. Skavarka tried to slide off Forrester's shoulders that time and almost succeeded, except Forrester had up so much bulldog lunge in his tackle that as Kavarka faded back, he ambled into the arms of Bill Fox, who came charging in on top of Forrester, and those two lads collaborated for a net of 2 yards lost with second down coming and 12 to go. Ohio State now functioning from the about 13 yards to go from the 29-yard line. Here's the standard tee once again. Cursillo under, the ball to Cursillo. Keeps after faking it off, and his wide out to the left, cocks his arm, pulls the trigger on one which is intended for the end zone. Incomplete, intended to Ray Hamilton, and the key to the defense was Bill Chrysler. Chrysler had gotten in front of Hamilton that time, and as he leaped very high, he poked the ball over Hamilton's head. Hamilton finally slapping his thigh dejectedly as though he thought he had a fair crack at that ball, and fair enough it might have been, for it seemed to aim squarely at him until Chrysler intervened and shoved the ball up and out of the end zone. Clock stopping on the incompletion, 12 minutes, 21 seconds to go. 7-0, Ohio State on top. The play to Cursillo, keeps shoots a pass right down the middle, and it completes to Hamilton on the 15. He gets 2 more to the 13, and Gene Gillis makes the tackle on the 13-yard line. That gobbles up that 13 yards, plus 3, plus 4, and it's a 17-yard pickup with 1st and 10 to go. It's Ohio State on SMU's 13-yard line, and there's a pass completion that Ohio State has been fishing for all day long. Hamilton breaks straight away, goes downfield, and cuts about 15 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, and seems simply to stand there, almost waving his arm, as though to say, here I am. And Cursillo found him that time. Cursillo has it and is run out of bounds for a loss back to the 17-yard line. Rusty Russell breaking through that time to get a hand from Jim Landers and shove the play back on the 17. A lot of extracurricular activity just as the play broke, and 3 red flags went floating in the air. The point of the kill was the 17-yard line, which is 4 yards in back of the line of scrimmage. The option rests with the ponies, and they are taking the play. Backfield in motion is declined. They want to use up the down, and they choose to take the loss. So it's second down coming up, about 14 to go from the SMU 17-yard line. Second and about 14 to go for the first down from the pony 17. Cursillo takes once again. Heads wide out to the right, hands it over to Janowicz. Janowicz still going wide. Here's his cut to the 15, to 10. He's down to the 5 and pulls another yard to the 4 before he's picked up. He fumbles the ball as he's hit very hard there by Gene Gillis. There's a pile up for it on the 4-yard line. In go the officials, and SMU recovers, and the last man off that pile is number 63, and that happens. He covers for the SMU team on the 4-yard line in the pony end of the field. There was quite a pile up there. Janowicz was running like a fire truck as he roamed through the left defensive side of the SMU line, but the right defensive side, meanwhile, had swung around as though on a pivot and began to stack up that play around the 7. Janowicz, floating through that great maze of defensive trouble there, finally fell to the ground just inside the 5, and the ball was yard free, and the recovery goes to SMU on the pony 4. So SMU takes over with Musselwhite, with Benners, with Dollenwork, and Russell in the backfield. There's the whistle. It's SMU just inside the 5 on the 4. We've got 11 minutes, 38 seconds to go. The snap is back to Benners, and he heads wide out to the right. He's still back at the goal line. Now he's in the field of play to the 5, hits the 10, and is hit and dropped out of bounds on the 13-yard line. Hit by Steve Ruzick. Ruzick knocked him out of bounds, and that ball was fumbled just as he arrived on the sidelines, but the recovery remains to the SMU team. That leaves it about a half yard shy of a first down, with second down coming up a half to go. Jerry Norton now checks into the backfield for the ponies, and he joins Musselwhite, Rusty Russell, and
WVAPH. WFAA.
And now it's Norton who's in the deep slot as SMU comes unbalanced to the right. The line is tight, a double wing in the backfield. The ball instead of the short man, it goes to Russell, and Russell heads wide out to the right, bucks across the line of scrimmage, and barely regains it. He may have finally slid off that tackler and fallen forward for a half yard, which was needed for first down yardage. We'll see just where the ball is spotted when it's carried back into the field of play, for it was Steve Ruzick and Bob Hyde who chased it off the 13-yard line, and that was the line of scrimmage, is where the ball remains. So it's third down coming up, still a little less than a yard needed, a half yard needed for a first down. Here's single wing to the right for the SMU team. The line goes strong to the right. The ball is to the deep man, Norton. Norton tries the left side of the line, hammers up around the 15, is met hard, the red flag's down, and we'll see just how matters evolve as the officials go in for consultation with both teams. The ball carrier, Jerry Norton, got through the weak side that time. His left side, it was a strong side stacked up to the right. He hit her on the 15-yard line, was met by Dick Arledge and Mark Speakley and Hyde, and finally rubbed all the way back to the 10-yard stripe. It would appear that the options rest here with the Ohio State team, for Bob Hyde alone is in on the conference, which now ensues at the 15-yard line. Backfield in motion is signaled against SMU, so rub out the last play, and SMU in possession on its own 8.5-yard line. Here's the double wing, and the line is spread, and the deep man is Norton. Norton stands on his own 1, takes the snap, heads out wide to the left. He's cut to the 5, the 6, the 7, and he's dropped. It was Bob Hyde who snaked through that time and It was man for man as Norton tried to fight away from Hyde, and Hyde had singled him out as his chosen tackle. He caught him around the knees, and Norton went into a corkscrew spin, trying to worm his way out of Hyde's grasp. But Hyde dragged him to the ground on the 7, and it comes up 4th down with about 8 yards now needed for a 1st down. The double safety of Janowicz and Bruni offered by Ohio State, and they have moved out to SMU's 42, 43-yard line. The snap to Norton, gets his kick off. He's kicking over toward Janowicz. Janowicz has to retreat. Fields it on his own 48, heads away to the left, and fakes a handoff, but keeps it across midfield to the SMU 45, 4-3 to 1-yard line. And there he's picked up first by Ben White, also by I.D. Russell and Dick Hightower. A 44-yard kick out by Jerry Norton, kicking from 2 yards deep in the end zone. And Janowicz faking a handoff to Fred Bruni, kept the ball, came away to the left, and was holding it behind him all the time in an effort to decoy the SMU defenders in the direction of Bruni, who curved over as though he had the ball. And Janowicz runs it back to the 42-yard line, where the ball is whistled dead. Hightower making the tackle along with Ben White. The score is still Ohio State 7, SMU nothing. The T formation, Cursillo again bows under. Janowicz, Clevey, and Kipnick find him in the backfield. The ball to Kipnick. Kipnick tries thunder at the line and gets a couple to the 40 before the tackle-to-tackle spread pitches him off. Clem, I.D. Russell, Robb, Forrester, and Hightower all make the tackle on the 40-yard line, so it worked for 2. 9 minutes, 35 seconds to go. Time for lots of football. 7-0 the score. The Buckeyes on top. The Ponies drag up a stout forward wall. 7-2-2 is about the way it looks, although the linebackers are drifting back a little bit. Cursillo to Janowicz on the handoff through right guard. A quick opener cuts back across the 35 and drifts on down to the 30-yard line, where he's fielded by Forrester, Russell, and Pat Knight on the 30. Cleared for a 1st with a couple of yards to spare, and it's 1st and 10 to go. That particular play has worked like a charm. That's the 14th 1st down for Ohio State. It's worked like a charm when it's worked for Janowicz. He heads just outside right guard. He gets a sharp block as Logan drives out. Lou Fisher drives in. And then immediately he arrives on the line of scrimmage. Janowicz cuts back. He runs with his knees very high. He's a 186-pounder, 5 feet 9, and he's just a chunk as he goes through. Here's the play once again. Clevey. It's a basket pitch out from Cursillo to Clevey. He hits the line of scrimmage, and is hit very low by I.D. Russell and drops for no gain on the 30-yard line. As Clevey took the pitch out, he was about 2 yards back of his line of scrimmage. Russell had the sights on him that time and launched his tackle around the 30-yard stripe. Clevey tried to slide away from it, but Russell put the arm around it and dragged it in. 2nd down coming and still 10 to go, and it's Ohio State operating still from SMU's 30-yard line, working with some sharp blocking in the Ohio State right offensive side. Ball to Cursillo, and he's back for a pass, but doesn't pass. Tucks the ball, runs, picks up a block across the 30, and gets another 5 yards to the 25-yard line. Pat Knight took a long piggyback ride that time, making contact on the 28 and riding him down at long last on the 25-yard stripe. On that particular play, as Cursillo faded back as though to pass, Janowicz laid right back at the center of the line, and when Cursillo exposed his hand and ran the ball, Janowicz took off to lay a fast block into Jim Landers, carry him out of the play, and allow the ball carrier to progress for 5 to the SMU 25. It's 3rd down coming up and 5 to go. Ohio State still maneuvering in Pony territory. The ball this time to Cursillo. Here's the identical play on the handoff to Janowicz, and he crosses the 20 around the 19, unless the knee touched down somewhere inside. The ball is spotted around the 19-yard line, and that's cleared for a 1st down with about a yard to spare. Russell, Harry Dean, and Herschel Forrester in on the tackle. There's a carbon copy of that same play that Janowicz has worked so neatly. It's a cutback over right guard, and Janowicz, who rumbles around very hard once he gets into the secondary with his knees very high, must be an awfully difficult man to stop. It took 3 lads that time to drag him down. 1st and 10, and it's Ohio State on the 19. Rapidly through the air now after using ground plays to gain a vantage point and place them in position to menace the SMU goal line. The T formation, Cursillo's under, takes the snap, hands over to Janowicz again. It's that same play over right guard on the cutback to the 5, the 4, and the 4-yard line finds the play halted by Bill Chrysler once again, Pat Knight, and Bill Forrester. 4 yards picked up. Janowicz has a full running steam. He breaks very fast, and as he drives through that right guard slot, Lou Fisher, his right guard, and Dick Logan, his right tackle, are simply wedging out a big hole for him, and through which Janowicz marches and then cuts away sharply to his left. It's 2nd and goal to go from the SMU 4. The T to Cursillo, gives over this time to Wagner. Wagner tries to plow into left tackle, gets down to the 2-yard line, And there the right defensive side melting to the ground with Landers, Forrester, Bennett, Musselwhite, and Pat Knight all in on the tackle on the SMU 2. Third down coming up, and 2 yards away are the Ohio State Buckeyes from the SMU picnic ground. 3rd and 2 to go. SMU now rallied its defenses right into the barricade. 9 men right up on the goal line, and now here's the tee. Cursillo gives to Janowicz. Janowicz plunges at that line. There's no signal. It looked as though he may have been staved off, shy of touchdown yardage. Hightower met him head on, and as Janowicz tried to launch himself and take off right over the right offensive side, he slapped to the ground outside the goal line on the 1-yard stripe, and SMU may praise Dick Hightower and Ike Robb for throwing up a defense that refused to be budged, as Janowicz, with all he had to thrust, went driving right over right guard some 5 feet off the ground. He was lying horizontal, trying to slide over the defense. 4th down coming up, and SMU has staved off Ohio State for 3 downs, this series starting on the 8th, and it's 4th down coming up with a yard separating the line of scrimmage and SMU's goal stripe. Ohio State has taken a timeout. Start the clock, says the referee, and time is back in once again as Ohio State is getting signals for the 4th down try. You have Cursillo, Janowicz, Cleve, and Wagner in the backfield, and SMU has dragged 9-10 men up on the line of scrimmage, leaving only 1 man back in the secondary. Here's the try for power. It goes to Wagner. He's trying to punch his way through. No signal yet. He got to the line of scrimmage, and then there was a dogfight as the 11 defense SMU men piled up on the play. The ball is being slapped down on the 1-yard line, and it goes over to SMU, shy of pay dirt. The Ponies take over on their own 1-yard line with 1st and 10 to go. A magnificent defensive display there, which found the entire 11 men of the SMU team drawn up on that line of scrimmage and staving off the Ohio State effort to penetrate that strong, impregnable defensive wall. Wagner, who was trying the 4th down try, got a running head start as though he were going to dive right out of the ballpark, and then along came the SMU line to press him down outside the goal line. 1st and 10, the Ponies on their own 1-yard line, and Benners is back in the end zone as though the pass almost about to step out. He's about 9.5 yards back. He passes. Janowicz intercepts, and the ball is yard free of Janowicz's hands, and it's Bennett Musselwhite, the man to whom that pass was intended, going into Janowicz to bound it out and cause the ball to go incomplete. Benners barely got back on the field of play that time after retreating almost out of the end zone. He seemed desperately to suddenly understand that he was about to step out of the end zone, and then throwing 1 foot back in, he got that ball away just before he was all but punched out 10 yards back of the goal line by Gandy, Campanella, and Ruzick. He stepped away to the right and stayed in that end zone. An incompleted pass which was intercepted and then yard free. So it's 2nd and 10 to go, and again Benners goes back dangerously close, shoots the pass. It's complete to Stollenwerk, who takes it on the 5. He's out to the 10, cuts away to the right, to the 12, the 13, the 14-yard line, and finally he's piled up. Stollenwerk was under tremendous pressure that time as he was contacted first at the point of the catch on the 5 and races that ball on out. And here's the penalty against the Ohio State team for 15 yards for piling up on the tackle. So that pass stands up as complete, and the Bucks are penalized back to the SMU 28-yard line where it's 1st and 10 to go. SMU on its own 1-yard line with Benners passing 9 3/4 yards deep in that end zone, passing 2 times, the second time finding his mark, Henry Stollenwerk, and then SMU working out on a 15-yard penalty on the tackle to its own 28. Now Benners is deep again, strong to the right, double wing. The ball is to Benners, back to the 15, shoots the pass. It's complete to Ben White, who takes it on the 35, gets 2 more, 3 more, 4 more to the 39-yard line, and there he's given a horse collar tackle by Dick Arledge and finally brought to earth. White was fighting and scrapping that time. He was horse-collared by Arledge just as he caught the ball in the 35, but he was trying, it looked as though he was trying actually to shake Arledge loose by wagging his shoulders from side to side. Arledge finally got him off his feet at the 37, not the 39, although they fell forward on up another 2 yards. 2nd down coming up then for SMU with about 1.5 yards to go for a 1st. And Benner still popping those passes. The clock says 3 minutes, 45, 44, 43 seconds still to play. 7-0 to score. The Bucks on top. The flag is down. Benner takes the snap, shoots the pass, incomplete. It was intended to Jimmy Horn, and Bennett Musselwhite had gone deep to protect Horn on the pass. Dick Arledge made a try at the interception, but the pass was too tall for all 3 gents, and it goes back incomplete to the 37-yard line. But as reported to you, the flags were down. To the 5-yard penalty against Ohio State, and that automatically franks the Ponies to a 1st down and a fresh lease on life on the 43. Offside is ruled. Just as that ball was being handed back by Dick Hightower all the way back to Benners in the deep spot, You can see a little action in the 11 inches that separate the offensive and defensive lines. The 11th first down for SMU, and it's 1st and 10 to go. The Ponies on their own 43. 3 minutes and 37 seconds to play. 7-0 the score. Here's double wing. The tight line strong to the right. The ball is back to Benners. Still going back to his own 25. He seems to have a lot of time. Finally gets that ball away on a straight pass, which is completed at the 47-yard line in the Ohio State end of the field. And as they finally come free, we'll spot that lad's number, and it is Rusty Russell, Jr., who drops immediately in the arms of Dick Arledge. Arledge had Rusty so completely cloaked that time it was impossible to see exactly who that SMU lad was who had grabbed that ball, for he was wrapped up and tucked in just the minute he caught it, and it's close for a first down. Time is called, and the head linesman brings out his tape for an exact measurement on that last completed pass. Benners had all day back there. It's shy of about a half yard of a first down, with second down coming up. Call that about a half yard for a first. And Benners, who kept stepping back, was given a beautiful cloak of cover. Forrester, Hightower, Robb, and Clem all faded back that time, and they gave Mr. Benners practice all day until he spotted Rusty Russell running in the clear and laterally across the 50-yard line. He timed his pitch beautifully, and Russell completed it all out for 9.5 yards. 2.5 yard to go. Strong to the right once again. The ball is back to Benners, and again he's dropping back to pass, and again he does pass, and again it is complete. And it's Jimmy Mayhew who catches it and is dropped on the 39-yard line in Ohio State's end of the field. It's miraculous the way this SMU team can complete those passes. When they spring those lads, they say they have something better than 200 pass patterns, and the matter of defending against every possible variation of every possible pattern is a tremendous defensive chore. But there was Mayhew all by himself, standing out on the 40-yard line, and by the way, that's the point gained. He fell forward another yard, but the knee touched in on the Ohio State 40, and Ohio State takes time out, stopping the clock with 2 minutes, 49 seconds to play, and SMU's air game on the loose, with Benners now passing. Well, one needs to hang around this delightful city of Columbus only a day or two in order to sense the genuine awe with which this community regards that SMU team, and perhaps the reason is not hard to seek. They think that this Fred Benners as a sort of football Superman. In the papers, over the radios, and in hotel lobbies these last couple of days, folks hereabout keep reminding themselves about what happened last year. The tales of daring do about Mr. Benners are fabulous, but apparently no more so than the facts, and perhaps the performance in this last few series of downs bears that fact out. They say, too, here that Ohio State has not completely recovered from the shock of this tall boy, 6 feet 3 inches tall, with the buggy whip arm, who threw the Mustangs to 4 quick touchdowns and wiped out the Buckeyes' lead last year, finally to send SMU on back home 32-27 winner. Now, with 2 minutes, and 49 seconds of playing time still to go, the Ponies have progressed to the Ohio State 40. Once again, riding Benners' arm. This series of downs began on the Pony 1-yard line and found them passing from the very first point. Now the play. Benners takes the snap, and it's a short pass, which is completed back to the line of scrimmage to Sollenwerk on the 40, the 35. He's down to the 30. He's down to the 25, the 4, the 3, before he's finally swept off his feet. Sollenwerk refused to be stopped. He was in trouble all of the 12 yards from the point from which he caught that ball, back of the line of scrimmage, to the point in which he was finally brought in by Bruni, and it took Arledge and Janowicz and Beakley, the collaboration of all 4 men back in the secondary, to finally wipe tough little Henry Sollenwerk off his feet. Sollenwerk, the progeny of Logan Sollenwerk, a former SMU great of some 2.5 decades ago. And now the play once again, 1st and 10 to go. The ball is back to Benners, and he shoots a pass which is completed to Sollenwerk again on the 25. He's hit and dropped on the 22-yard line. And he was hit just around the neck that time by Ruzick, who apparently figured it's either strike this lad now or never see him again, for Sollenwerk was trying to cut away from Ruzick. Ruzick made a desperate stab at him. He hit him just around the shoulders and knocked him off his feet, but a couple of the SMU boys were so intent on clearing the path for Sollenwerk after that catch that they laid across some of the Ohio State secondaries and knocked them about 5 or 8 yards. The play, that last was good for about 1.5 yards, second coming up, 8.5 to go. SMU spreads the line, sends strong to the right of the flanker outside. Benners has, shoots a pass to the left flat. It's completed back to the line of scrimmage and dropped by Russell, but he picks it up on the bounce, and he's down to the 20, the 18, the 17-yard line. Russell was playing that thing like a basketball that time. A beautiful display of recovery and using the old noodle. After that ball had been jarred out of his hands, it fell to the ground, and he almost dribbled the ball downfield. You could see him pick it up. He was still back at the line of scrimmage and available for the gain. He managed to get control of it around the 24-yard line and then raced on through to this 18, where it's third down coming up, about 4.5 yards to go for the first down. Now, 1 minute and 6 seconds, 1 minute 5, 1 minute 4. It's SMU third, need about 4.5. Double wing. The ball is back to Benners again. Benners is fading off to his right, now to his left, and he shoots a pass complete to Sollenwerk again on the 20. He's down to the 15. He's hit on the 15 and dropped at that point. And it was Bob Hyde who came blasting in that time to drop him. 48 seconds still to go. There was a fumble on the play. And as the referee dives in and unravels all, the last man off the heap is Vic Janowicz. Janowicz takes over to arrest the SMU assault as that ball is jarred free, and a tremendous tackle by Bob Hyde on the 15-yard line. The ball seemed to leak right out from under the receiver, and there was Janowicz pouncing on it. And as they finally managed to scrape off the white-jerseyed Mustangs and the scarlet-shirted Ohio State boys, Janowicz, number 31, was the last to climb off. So Ohio State takes possession on its own 15, 48 seconds still to play, and Ohio State 7, SMU nothing. This SMU passing game carried all the way from the phony 1-yard line to the 15-yard stripe in the Ohio State end of the field. A beautiful display of passing, which found passes miraculously open, no less miraculous to the accuracy with which Fred Benners was hanging that ball right before their eyes, as though it were drawn by a string. On a break converted and capitalized by Ohio State as they take possession on a fumble at their own 15, 36, 35, 34. They're in no hurry to get up and out of that huddle. 32, 31, and now here they come. The T formation, 1st and 10 to go from the Ohio State 15, 27, 26, 25 seconds to play. We await the snap. One of the Ohio State lads falls into the line, and an offside is ruled against Ohio State, and that stopped the clock with 20 seconds still to go, penalized Ohio State back to the 10-yard line. First down coming up and 15 to go, and again the Staters are back in their huddle. The SMU team has dragged its defenses up very, very tight. They've been using an 8-3 most consistently, although occasionally, as reported, they've relaxed into a 7-1-3 with that one man either backing up the line or playing over the flat. And they've also used 5 and 6-man defensive lines. But the 8-3 seems to be the more consistent pattern as they have met head-on with a strong Ohio State team. And now the play. The clock starts once again, and it's 1st and 15 to go. Ohio State from its own 10. Priscillo barking signals. He's the man under in the tee. He simply falls forward on the ball, and it's collapsed at the 10-yard line, met by Thompson, Hightower, and Forrester. But Priscillo simply fell on the ball to protect and cover at the 10. 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds. The referee calls for the ball, spots it. It's second down coming up, and still 15 yards to go for the first down. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second if the clock be right. And that's all there is. There isn't any more. The game ends. The final score, Ohio State Buckeyes 7, a hard-fighting, never-say-die Southern Methodist University team from the Southwest Conference nothing. 7-0, Ohio State conquers.